excited that you have joined us today for our instructional coaching year-long journey series. Just to let you know, just to let you know, today's series on our next slide is instructional coaching year-long journey on relationships are the heart of coaching part 2. So don't worry, we said part 2, but relationship are the heart of coaching is also can be found on Cox Campus, the part 1, but you haven't missed anything. We're going to fill you in, and we definitely are just so excited that you're spending this afternoon with us. And just to let you know, we thrive, Ashley and I thrive off of your energy and your participation. So please, please, please respond in the chat with your reflections or your questions, and even better, unmute yourself and talk to us and let us hear from you, and so that we can hear from you, and so can the rest of our coaching journey family. So just letting you know, we definitely want to hear from you and your thoughts and all of your questions. And I want to just introduce ourselves. So if we can go to the next slide. I've done a lot of talking and haven't even told you my name yet. So my name is Corinza Harris, and I'm a lead instructional coach here at the Rollins Center. I've been in education for the past 20 years, and it just gives me so much joy to provide the tools of the science of reading to every adult that's involved in a child's ecosystem. And what's really important for me is making sure that we're ensuring that all children are afforded the opportunities to choose their own path in life. And just a little tad bit about me in my free time, I love spending time with my family. And y'all, I am so psyched today.
Just to explain myself that I wasn't trying to prevent her from
your name. I am so stoked today because today is my grandmother's 92nd birthday. So if I am overflowing with energy, just don't mind me. It's just because I'm in celebratory mode all day today. So just to go ahead and pass it over to Ashley now to tell you a little bit about herself. Thanks, Ashley.
Thank you, Corinza. My name is Ashley Montgomery. I'm also a lead instructional coach for the Rollins Center, and I've been in education for about 14 years. And I'm passionate about educational equity because I believe that all children deserve to have equal access to resources and quality education to develop knowledge and skills that they need to become successful and prepared to thrive in our society. And in my free time, I enjoy spending time with my family and friends, and we absolutely love to travel. And just want to say happy birthday to Corinza's grandmother.
Why, thank you. I'll let her know that you said thank you. Happy birthday. Thank you, Miss Unique. Yes, 92, and she's an Aquarius. That's a huge accomplishment. And wow, your grandmother's 95.
Amazing.
Yes, amazing. Well, we want to know a little bit about you. So in just a few seconds, you will see a poll pop up on your screen, and that poll will have a few questions like, are you a Cox Campus member? Have you even taken the relationships, the Heart of Coaching course? And I believe also what describes your role. So if you can take a moment to just answer that poll, we are definitely wanting to know more about you.
Yes, so far I see some yeses for being Cox Campus members. Yes for taking relationships are the heart of coaching, which is awesome. And I see instructional leads, some coaches, and others in the chat, and some teachers. So we have a good variety of different roles today.
Definitely, yeah. This is great. Well, we are so excited to dive into our content. So let's talk about our goals for today. One of our goals on our next slide is going to be around understanding. Our goal for today is understanding the need for building trust in our coaching relationships. Trust, of course, is paramount for any coaching relationship. And we're going to dive into the elements that comprise of that trust, which will be CPR, an acronym CPR, and LEAD. And then also we're going to dive into coaches having a detailed knowledge around the 5 stages of change, as well as how to provide proper support during each of those changes. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Ashley.
Great.
Thank you.
So, like Corinza said, this is part 2, but just to kind of catch you up on our previous session, which was the relationships are the heart of coaching part 1, we focused on unpacking our own beliefs and core values, and we ended with seeing an initial conversation in action. And just as a reminder, the initial conversation was our first step in the coach and the coachee getting to know each other and really setting that tone for the coaching relationship going forward. So today we will be discussing what makes a strong and trusting coaching relationship. And one part of that is communication and listening. But before we dive deeper into the session today, we want to take some time to reflect and think about our icebreaker question. So what do you need from someone else to know that you are being listened to? And we're going to take a moment. Feel free to either use the chat, or we love to engage, so you can come off of mute to answer. But we want you to just take a moment to think about that. And I can go ahead and get us started. I know for me, when I'm in a conversation with someone, I need eye contact from that other person to know that they are truly listening to me. What about you, Corinza?
Yeah, that's a good one. I definitely am big on body language. Sometimes having your arms crossed and folded in a conversation kind of lets me think that you're not open, but oh, wow, I see a lot of comments in the chat. But yes, body language is huge for me.
Okay, I see affirmations, eye contact, full undivided attention, no cell phone. That is so important, Tracy. We're going to talk more about that. It's unique. Let's see what else. Engagement. Yes, these are all great responses and some things that we'll dive a little bit deeper into as our conversation goes on. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us and expressing how you know that someone is listening. I'm going to pass it to Corinza so we can go ahead and get started for today.
All right. Well, let's begin. What makes a great coaching relationship? Well, definitely a great coaching relationship. In order for it to be successful, there must be a mutual trust between the coachee and the coach. Trust definitely does not exist in the beginning of any relationship, and it must be earned and worked towards. And the way that we work towards this is through our behavior and our coaching interactions. So these 3 elements that we're going to discuss will definitely be pivotal to building that trust. And that's communication, partnership, and reliability. And we will use the acronym CPR, but just know that this is what we're talking about, is the communication, partnership, and reliability. So let's move over to communication. So communication is definitely essential to building trust in any relationship. And effective communication is really achieved by having direct, fully committed conversations that are free of judgments and also distractions, as many of you mentioned in the chat. For a coaching relationship to thrive, we must really rise above just casual conversations and really seek a more powerful, purposeful way to communicate with our coachees. These conversations will give our conversation partners, we need to make sure that we are always giving them our full attention and being an active listener. We will discuss communication in more depth with Ashley during our time together, but I really want to take a moment to discuss the other 2 elements, the P, partnership, and the R, reliability. So if we can go to the next slide, the P, partnership. It's so important for our coaches to feel like they have equal share of the responsibilities, and more importantly, decision-making within our coaching relationships. If they don't feel like their contributions are worth anything or overlooked, this may even, have them become disengaged from coaching altogether. So a great partnership is a collaborative problem solving throughout your coaching relationship. Definitely always making sure that we encourage the coachee and realizing that they come with so much wealth. They come with their own professional experiences and their own expertise. And listening to your coachees throughout their thoughts and their ideas regarding how they believe the problem should be solved, and then combine their ideas with your coaching expertise and collectively arriving at a solution together. We really want to make sure that we honor the voices of our coaches, of the coachee. A coaching relationship should always just be a collaborative effort at all times. And now just to think about the reliability piece on our next slide. And as I am talking, I definitely see a few comments in the chat. And if you have any questions as I am going through, definitely I will give us a moment to pause and just be reflective in that space. R for reliability. One of the most simple and effective ways to build trust is being consistent and being dependable in your coaching. Trust is built when your actions align with your words. As my grandma says, say what you mean and do and follow through with what you say you're going to do. And I'm definitely an example for me as far as following through and honoring my commitments. I make sure that when I'm in a coaching relationship, if I say that I'm going to meet with a coachee, I make sure that I'm on time. If I promise some resources, I make sure that in a timely manner that I'm providing those resources for that coachee. And now I'm going to take a moment to pause. If there's any questions or comments that you want to share, please do so in the chat, or you're welcome to come off of mute just around the CPR piece. Yeah, I do see a safe place to grow for change. A safe place is definitely important. Thank you. All right. Well, Ashley, I'm going to pass it to you so we can go dive deeper into effective communication.
Great. Thank you, Corinza. Okay, so what does effective communication look like? Effective communication is characterized by 4 distinct elements: listening, empathy, authenticity, and dialogue. And you may also hear us refer to this with the acronym LEAD. So let's take a look at each component of LEAD more closely in our next few slides. So the L in LEAD is for listening. So being an active listener means that we're being fully committed to the conversation. We want to limit distractions like cell phone use, as someone mentioned in the chat earlier. So we want to make sure we're placing our phones on silent or turning them off during the coaching conversation. So we will just eliminate all distractions. When engaging in a conversation with a coachee, you want to position yourself where there is nothing hindering your view of them, such as like chairs or a computer. You want to be in close proximity to them. You also want to choose a setting that is private and comfortable, which is something someone else said in the chat earlier. This sets the stage for a safe place. We always want the coachee to feel safe to share their thoughts and ideas without that fear of judgment. And lastly, we want to try to be aware of our nonverbal communication. So this is our gestures, posture, body language, and facial expressions. I want to share a personal experience. I'm naturally a very animated person. So when I first started coaching, I had to really practice not letting my face do the talking before my mouth or the words could come out of my mouth because I just wore all of my expressions on my face. So now that I'm more aware that of my facial expressions, I'm able to, make sure that I know how they come across. I may limit any negative facial expressions while having coaching conversations. Corinza, is there an experience that you have to share as well?
What I would say is in the beginning, when I was in coaching conversations, I would try to capture all of the conversation and record and type notes. So I would have my computer out right in the middle in between my coachee and myself. And I realized that was a distraction. I didn't seem like I was giving my undivided attention to that person. So since then, I have made sure if I have to, I have a sheet of paper to the side. I may write a few notes, but I'm constantly making sure that there's that eye contact with that coach and no devices in between us. So yeah, these are really important.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
So our next, go ahead, Corinza. I'm sorry.
No, go right ahead.
Our next is E, and the E in lead stands for empathy. So showing empathy within our coaching is very, very important. We want to enter the conversation without any judgment, and we always want to assume good intent. So even if you disagree with what the coachee is saying, we never want to interrupt. It's important to be patient as a conversational partner and always allow the coachee to finish speaking before offering any feedback. Okay. And so our next, the A in lead stands for authenticity. And you want to bring your best true self to coaching. You want to be honest, open, and transparent about who you are and how you operate as a coach. You also want to be forthcoming about how the coaching relationship will unfold. So as you saw in our previous session with an initial conversation between Shanika and Corinza, during that initial conversation, Shanika gave guidance to how their coaching relationship will unfold going forward. And then you want to be relatable and share information about yourself and make an effort to make real connections with your coachee. I think authenticity is something that we definitely value within a coaching. And then next, the last acronym in LEAD stands for dialogue. You want to find a balance between speaker and listener and try to play both roles equally. You want to ask effective questions to learn more about the coachee and use their responses to inform your coaching, and also offer feedback as suggestions for discussion rather than definitive solutions. So this will allow the coachee to collaborate with you on how to best proceed. So I'm going to take a moment here to pause and see if there are any questions or comments about LEAD before we continue. And if you like we always say, if you have any thoughts, you can put them in the chat or you can unmute yourself so we all can hear. But we're going to take a moment to pause and just check the chat or see if anyone has any comments before we move on.
Hi, this is Linda Travers.
Hi, Linda.
Hi, I have a question. How do we define authentic? And we talk about, there are a lot of words that we use in this the coaching arena. Mm-hmm. But sometimes we don't, we think everybody knows what all these words are supposed to mean. So I just wanted to ask about what would we mean by authentic?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question, Linda. I think authenticity for me means just being myself, staying true to who I am. In part one, we talked a lot about unpacking our beliefs and really knowing who we are as a learner and a coach. And so just being true to ourselves and making sure, like I said, that we're honest and open in our conversations. Corinza, do you have anything to add to that one?
Yeah, I think you've hit it right on the nail, but I would say if anything else, as far as being authentic, being, as you mentioned, being relatable. So showing the human side of ourselves. I make mistakes. You know what? This was tough for me too. And showing that, that I have these same quirks and
challenges,
feelings and challenges as you also, and then just being yourself and not feeling that I have to, show myself in another light, just myself.
Yeah, Corinza, you bring up such a great point. And even, thinking back on my coaching relationships, I think, other coachees really have valued, like if you make a mistake, owning up to that mistake. So just being very relatable and knowing that we're all human, we all make mistakes, but I can own up to it as a coach as well. So
that's a great question though, Linda. Thank you.
All right. So now I'm going to pass it. There's, make sure no one else was speaking before I continue. Okay. So I'm going to pass it to Corinza, and she's going to show us what LEAD looks like in action.
Yes. So we've talked about LEAD: listening, empathy, authenticity, and dialogue. We're going to take a few moments to look at a conversation between a coach and a coachee. Shanika's the coach and Kate is the coachee. And I'm just going to prepare you. So after this, we want to take a moment to actually have us break out for just a few minutes and really talk about what you saw Shanika model and how she's modeling that effective communication and the lead acronym. So if you can go ahead and play that. Thank you.
Hey, Kate, how are you?
I'm all right. Just a lot going on. How are you?
I'm doing well. Tell me more about what's going on.
It's just such a busy time of year with having to finish everything that administration wants from us. And not having my co-teacher right now has made it even harder.
I know, that is really hard. I remember feeling the same way when I was in the classroom and my co-teacher was out. How can I support you during this challenging time?
Thanks. It's fine. I know we need to talk about my joint action plan today anyway.
Kate, let's just slow down and not worry about the agenda for today. Tell me how I can support you.
Really? Thank you so much. That means a lot. So I have to finish a bunch of my anecdotal notes for my children over the next 2 weeks. And usually my co-teacher and I take notes while the other reads a story. But without her there, it feels like it'll be impossible to finish them.
What if you try reading the story in small groups and gathering anecdotal notes then? Or maybe even trying videotaping your conversation with the children and then rewatching it later so then you can write down your notes.
I like both ideas. That might work. Thank you so much for taking time to listen and help me problem solve. I really appreciate it, Shanika, and I don't feel as stressed as before.
Of course. Let me know if you try any of those ideas and we can check in later this week. I want to make sure you're feeling better about everything and see how I can continue to support you.
Okay, I would really appreciate that.
All right. So I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I definitely see some comments in the chat, so thank you for sharing those. We're going to take just for 5 minutes just to break out in groups and talk about this conversation. Share with us, what you saw. How was Shanika modeling the effective communication? And so if we can go to the next slide. And how was she demonstrating lead, listening, empathy, authenticity, and also dialogue? So just to let you know, when we go into our groups for 5 minutes, of course, we want to be receptive and practice our own preaching. So please introduce yourself, get to know each other for the first minute, and then take the last 4 minutes to just discuss the conversation. Okay. You should see on your screen where it is prompting you to join a breakout room, and if you will press that in just a few minutes. All right, welcome back. I hope that you got to introduce yourself to our coaching journey family. And we would love for you just to, I know for the sake of time, we would love for you just to put in the chat your thoughts. What resonated with you from your conversation? What words were you using to describe how Shanika demonstrated lead? I agree, Patricia, not enough time together, but we still got 30 minutes, so we're going to make the best of it. Okay, so definitely we would love to know your thoughts on how you felt Shanika demonstrated effective communication and demonstrated lead. Right, how responsive she was in the moment, definitely. Thank you, Nathan. I believe before Ms. Clay had mentioned also how she was definitely patient and listening. Okay.
She wasn't distracted, so she gave her her full undivided attention during the conversation as well.
Relatable and expressive also. Okay. Well, thank you guys. That was neat. All right, let's move over to the next slide. All right, so we talked around lead and CPR. Now, one thing that I just want to lift up for discussion is how can we be reflective in if we are demonstrating, and how can we be reflective in our coaching practice? How can we make sure that we are being effective in the way we're communicating, making sure we have a partnership, honoring the partnership piece, and also being reliable. And how can we show up to be our authentic self, as Linda asked earlier? And one thing that I just really want to lift up is a great reflective way, and that has been extremely valuable for me, has been through video coaching. Now, I know when we talk about videos, how uncomfortable that makes us feel right at the beginning. However, I just want to kind of share a brief video, and I will ask you to stop as we're watching this, but just listen to how beneficial it is to use video coaching in your coaching practice. Okay.
Coaching relationship.
So as a coach, one of the keys to building a trusting relationship with my teachers is good communication. And I quickly realized that when I use video, it's a very powerful way to get a clear picture of reality when it comes to understanding how I communicate. When I use video, I'll record a conversation between me and a teacher with their permission, and then I'll watch it and I'll reflect on how I communicated. And I ask myself questions related to the elements of good communication, like, am I listening with empathy and acceptance? Am I being authentic and transparent? Am I fostering dialogue through balanced conversation and thoughtful questions? And then, based on these reflections, I can grow and improve my communication style. After Kizzy and I met, I went back to my office and I watched the video. I was really pleased with a lot of what I saw. But I noticed something I had no idea that I did. When Kizzy was talking about how she wanted to grow as a teacher around the strategy, I quickly jumped in and offered her a solution. I didn't realize that I did this, and the conversation stopped. She was happy with what I said, and we made a plan. But I realized when I did this, I was really stifling her growth as a teacher. So I started paying attention to this as I went in and had conversations with other teachers, even when I wasn't recording myself. And I noticed that I was very quick to offer a solution. I started stepping back and waiting and allowing the teacher to have full reign and brainstorm around the areas that she wanted to grow and how she wanted to do this. And I found out that they usually came up with a solution that I was thinking, or something much better. In those few times when I felt like the thing I was thinking might really support them, I would ask them and say, I love all the things you've thought about. But I had another teacher who was in the same situation, and she tried this. Would you like me to share what she tried? Usually they wanted me to do that. And then they would add this to all their resources as they planned the next steps. I have found video to be transformational. It has allowed me to be reflective and has given me a tool for growth. I am a better coach because of video.
I noticed when Diane started using video during our debrief sessions that she allowed me more time to kind of have that thought process, time for me to kind of think of solutions to certain practices that we were implementing in the classroom. And when Diane did that, it made me feel valued as a partner. I felt like we had a partnership and that she was valuing my input on best ways to implement certain practices in my classroom to better serve the children in my room.
Okay. So yeah, definitely. As we talk about the benefits of using coaching in our practice, I would love to hear from you, to just hear if you have experienced video coaching in your practice, what were the benefits for you? And please don't be shy. Unmute yourself. Let us know. Even if you're a teacher and you've been through the process of coaching and having your coach work with you through video coaching, what were the benefits? And feel free to also drop it in the chat too if you.
I think I heard a voice.
This is Tanja.
Tanja, thank you, Tanja.
Okay, now this coaching note is great benefit for me because I am a person that kind of direct, at my speaking. So this coaching note is helping me to learn how to be more humble with it and to listen more to the other end of the conversation and letting them finish it before I begin to answer their question or their whatever. I'm that type of person. I always say, "Oh, okay, I know what you're talking about," and then come to find out they're really asking something else. So it is really helping me to be a more of a listener.
Yeah.
With it.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. And I can relate wholeheartedly and have had so many conversations with others around that same sentiment. As a coach, I feel like our first place is to fix it, right? And to help the problem. And Tunji, that's exactly, you're ready to jump in and give them. And I think Diane also mentioned that too. And so really having that time to step back, pause, giving them that time to finish off their thought, because as we talked about in here, our coachees come with so much experience and they value that collaboration. And then also we're empowering our teachers to solve those problems and not just look for us for the answers. So I'm so glad that you lifted up that this is teaching you how to kind of not be as direct in giving that information, but humbling yourself and pausing and listening more. So thank you so much for sharing that experience.
That's awesome. Thank you,
Yeah.
Tanya.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thanks.
Would anybody else like to share before we move to the next slide? Like we said, you can always put your thoughts in our chat as we're going through and we can go back and answer. So if we could go back to the next slide, Sam, the resistance to change.
I did.
Oh, Miss Patricia.
I had a question that I was asking about the coaching. I've not used this video coaching strategy, but I was asking if it would be a strategy that could be used to help teachers connect with parents as well, and helping them to feel that they are really a valued asset and part of the child's learning experience, because they are the child's first teacher, really.
Mm-hmm.
And that would help us be able to get to know them and them get to know us, and us be able to work as a team.
Yeah.
And not that the parent feel like she's, beneath the teacher, or that the teacher's above her or whatever like that because she has a degree or whatever, but to help us to be on the same plane is what I'm asking. Would that be a good strategy?
Okay. Yeah. So let me just clarify. So you're saying if you use video coaching with the parents, in what capacity? Like having the parents?
Well, not necessarily video coaching, but just be able to coach the parent using the same strategy, the same lead strategy, with just the parent on a parent-teacher thing, not necessarily video.
I love that, Patricia. Absolutely. Yeah. Wholeheartedly. Listening, having empathy, being yourself, like being relatable, like you said, not being, up here and feeling as though they're down here, using their language, simplifying things also. If things, need to be chunked and they may not, process things the first time, and really taking that time to have that dialogue. I feel like wholeheartedly. Ashley, what are your thoughts?
No, absolutely. And, sometimes, Corinne and I always joke around, like things that we learn about coaching, we can also take in our personal lives. Like sometimes it is, strategies that we can take and use. So definitely, listening, having empathy, being authentic, and, having that dialogue can be used all around for any type of situation where you're having a one-on-one conversation with someone.
And I just asked that because with the Head Start program that I was with, I see so many teachers that don't have that, and they judge parents, and stuff like that because they don't behave a certain way or they don't do things a certain way. But if they don't know how to do, then they're not going to be able to do. And
exactly.
If I don't want to take up too much time, so I'm going to stop talking.
No, I love you brought this piece to us. I mean, even thinking about the CPR piece, I mean, the partnership piece is key. And so even hearing from that family and that mom or dad or whoever that family member is, and really asking them, well, what works for you at home? What do you suggest? Really using and hearing from them. so that they do feel as though their voice is honored in your, relationship with their child. So I love that. Thank you.
And I think, bringing it back to, what is the goal or what is the purpose of all of this? And it's really for the child. So anything and everything that we do, we bring the conversation to having it child centered. We're there for the children. We're there for those outcomes. We want them to be successful. So I think, just bringing it back, like, what is our goal? It's for the child, and keeping that in mind, I think it can definitely take us a little bit further too, those conversations. Thank you so much. All right, so we have to talk about this resistance to change. So the reality is, even though you demonstrate the elements of lead in your coaching relationship, you still may face some resistance from others to change. So let's talk about some reasons why some people may be reluctant to change their beliefs. So one, they may not see the problem or solutions to their problem. They may be aware of their beliefs, but they may not realize the negative effects that those beliefs are having on other people, or the notion of confronting and changing beliefs seems too risky to even attempt. So if you encounter these scenarios in your coaching, you will want to fall back on the coaching relationship building skills. So the fear of change can be solved if you have constructed a safe, trusting coaching relationship. So on our next slide, we're going to talk about the 5 stages of change and how we can support, as a coach, how we can support a coachee through those stages of change. Okay, so the first stage is pre-contemplation. This stage is where you will encounter some pushback. The coachee may be stuck in their old ways and resistant to coaching efforts. They are unaware at this stage of a need for change. In this stage, you will want to support them by focusing on the relationship. You will want to be respectful and empathetic to their perspectives. And even if you don't agree, a strong, trusting relationship will open the door to the next stage of change. Stage two is the contemplation stage. The coachee becomes more aware of the situation that they are in, and they may even start to notice that something does, in fact, need to change in their teaching methods in order to improve those child outcomes. However, they haven't made any decisions on how to take action yet. So during this stage, you will support the coachee by focusing on the big picture and encouraging reflection on goals for improving those child outcomes. And stage 3, the preparation stage, the coachee has accepted the need for change, and they will be ready to work with you and develop skills needed to facilitate that change. So they may also seek information from other sources or even other people who have been through coaching relationships as a way to supplement their learning. And you will support the coachee at this stage by creating a plan of action and provide sources of information and encourage research and exploration of new ideas to give them a sense of ownership. The 4th stage is our action stage. This is all about implementing the plans that were made in the preparation stage. At this point, the coachee has embraced the guidance of their coach and are working with you to make those lasting changes. You will support the coachee through this stage of change by implementing a strategy, what we call ABC. So the A is for acknowledge the risk. You want to acknowledge that this may be challenging for them. And B, you want to be supportive. And C, you want to celebrate along the way. So even the small wins is something to celebrate. And then our final stage, stage 5, which is the maintenance stage. So after committing to a plan of action and working together, you will still need to provide the coachee with the ABC support in order to help them maintain the hard-earned progress that they have made. And then you will also want to encourage the coachee to share their journey of change with others. So I'm going to now pass it to Corinza, and we're going to have an opportunity to take a look at some of these stages in action.
All right. Thank you, Ashley. Okay, so we're going to look at a video of, again, a coachee and a coach. And I know that was a lot of information, but let's see if we can identify the stage that we see in this brief snippet.
Why do I have to use the START strategy to read books?
Why can't I just read the book how it is? There is no way my children will sit that long if I have to read the book and say all that other stuff.
All right. What stage do you feel as though the coachee is in at that time? What stage is Alethea in? And also, if you were her coach, how would you support her in this? Now, remember, our next slide is pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and maintenance. And I know that was a lot. So I may give us a cheat here. That's it. So thinking about, she's extremely apprehensive. She's not understanding. She's, at this stage.
I think she's in the first stage.
Aha, you get a prize in my Oprah voice. Yes. I see others here in the chat saying pre-contemplation. Absolutely. Yes. Thank you, Taisha. Also, yeah, she is in pre-contemplation. And at this stage, it's really important, I think, as someone lifted up before, being our authentic self and showing up in that way to relationship build and really find those connections and those commonalities to strengthen that relationship. Clearly, at this point, she needs to know that she needs to trust this person and that she, and that she's very apprehensive at this time. So thank you. All right. Great job, guys. I'm ready for the next one. So let's go ahead and look at this one. And this is very brief also. Let's see if we can identify this stage.
Thank you for your courage to try something new, Lethea. I know it can feel challenging, so I admire your willingness to try. I would love to help you and will support you each step of the way. Let's take a look at our joint action plan together and plan out our next steps.
Maggie is supporting Lethea at this stage.
All right. You don't want to give up the
Prep.
Miss Patricia?
I was saying she's preparation. They're preparing to go and view some possible strategies or whatever.
Yes. Yes. So I love that. Yes, it is preparation. It is the preparation right before that. So she has made those preparation stages, and also she's giving her a game plan. Mm-hmm. So really, to be honest with you, I can see how this can also be the action stage and, telling her how to prepare to go into that action page, acknowledging that risk and also celebrating, as Ashley left it up, that ABC, like acknowledging the risk and then also being supportive through the process and celebrating her along the way. So yeah, definitely. I think as looking at that small snippet, it could definitely look as though it's preparation and moving into the action stage. And those both are simultaneously just getting to the work, and let's see in this work in process and implement the plan.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right. They are great. Ashley, I don't want to end.
I know. I don't either. Such great dialogue today, but we do have to end shortly. But before we do that, we want to take some time for our final reflection and just to hear more from you. If you've had experience, we want to know what has been your experience with coaching someone through stages of change, or if you had experience being coached through a stage of change, we would love to hear from you. So we'll take this time to unmute if you would like to share, or share in the chat. Have you worked with someone through the stages of change, and kind of what was your experience? We would love to hear about it.
Well, I could share, but it wouldn't be in a coaching thing because I've not done it. But it would be in a similar, really, to me, working with a parent who had a belief system that was affecting her child because he didn't understand it. And so we were able to work it out by me giving her a way of viewing what she was feeling from a different perspective. So
Right.
I could share that, but it really wouldn't be what you're asking for, I don't think.
I mean, I think anyone can go through the stages of change, whether it's through coaching or anything personal. So I think anything that you have to share will be relevant. And that did sound like an example of someone, like you said, seeing a different perspective. And we have to be open for that, right? So we have to realize our own beliefs and share those beliefs, and then be open to hear other people's perspectives in a situation. So no, I think that was.
She had an issue with her son playing with dolls, because she thought it was something for girls only. But we just got into a good discussion about it. And I said, this boy is one day going to be a man. This man is one day going to be a husband. This husband is one day going to be a father. And when he becomes a father, what is he going to do? He's going to be taking care of a baby. And so just look at this from that perspective, and see how he's actually learning as a child how to be a good father when he becomes one. And it helped her to be able to see from a different perspective and not think it's so, going to make her son be, homosexual or something like that because he likes to play with dolls or whatever like that. It's got nothing to do with that at all, and it helped her. And then eventually she did let him, play with dolls.
Well, I'm glad you were able to assist in that positive change in that child's life and make an impact there. Thank you so much for sharing your experience.
Hello, I am so sorry that the time zone threw me off, but I've caught some of the last part of the rich discussion that was going on. I've been a coach in the past, and now I manage the coaches, and some of the obstacles that I faced as a coach, and now the coaches I manage, is having teachers to, the tenured teachers that this is my way, I'm stuck in doing it one way and not wanting to sway to do it the other way. So we're working on strategies to work together with that teacher to say, okay, well, if you've been doing it all this way all the time and you've never gotten any change, let's try it another way. Let's try it. So that's what we're working with our mentees on now, especially the ones that's been doing the same way for 20, 30 years. So we're working on our mentees on moving the needle, working together to build those goals and getting that buy-in from that person, because it's hard to get a buy-in from somebody that's used to do with the same behavior. So changing that behavior can also be a major roadblock. And that's what I face as a mentor, and that's what my coaches are facing with their mentees.
Thank you so much, Sonia, for coming and speaking about this. I think it's just so, you just uplifted something that, sometimes, we get stuck in doing the same things year after year. And it really takes that openness and willingness to try something new as like the first step to really like bring about that change. So I'm glad that you were able to get some of those teachers to, take on a new perspective of, trying something new. And I definitely wish you luck and continued success in moving them forward.
I just want to lift up some things in the chat too. Yes, thank you so much for that. Ernestine and Janice, I see here, finding the reason why the person is shy about that change. And Ernestine gave a testimony of she was always reluctant for change and afraid to make that move and fearful. And thank you, Janice, because you responded with really thinking about that first letter in the lead. And that's so powerful. Listening. Like really hearing from them, what is the problem? Why are you afraid to change? Sometimes they're not always going to be open with sharing the why, but sometimes it's skill, sometimes it's will, sometimes it's just I'm stuck in my ways of, however, I definitely love when you talked about modeling and showing them that there is another way, and let's see the outcome. And remember exactly what Ashley said earlier, the outcomes at the end of the day is about the children. And so once they see that these new practices that we're introducing actually do have these great outcomes in our children, then the buy-in may start to begin. Then we can start to get them to that preparation and those action steps. And then they're happy. They're maintaining that and making that keep going forward because they see that it is successful. So thank you so much for that. Great.
Yes, thank you all so much for sharing your experiences. We really enjoyed having this dialogue with you today. And we're going to move to our next slide. And we just want to let you know, thank you to Alex, who's our moderator. He's moderating in the chat along with Shanika answering questions. And Alex has dropped in some of our documents that we've been referring to today. But we do also want to let you know that all of the documents that we shared today in today's session can be found on Cox Campus, also in the resource library. So whenever you have time, you can go on there and check those out. And then we just want to let you know on our next slide that we can't wait to see you for our next session. We're going to be talking about the coaching process on April 18th from 3 to 4 p.m. So Corinza and I will be back, and we hope that you all will join us then. And then, as always, if you are new to Cox Campus, we would love for you to join. If you do not already have an account, the membership, it's free and it's always accessible. And we have plenty of resources like we showed you in the resource library that's available that are also free. So please join if you have not already. And Alex did drop a link in the chat for you to sign up.
So much wealth and goodies. And guess what? It's 99,000% free. So you don't have to pay for anything. Like she said, Tunji, I see your hand raised.
Oh, yes. Tunji?
Tunja,
I'm sorry.
Sorry, no.
I am so sorry. I was trying to get back to the mute button.
Oh, it's okay.
I was trying to write down the information, but she answered the question. The question was going to be, how can we attain this information so that we can go back to it? And she answered the question for me. So thank you so much.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I see Adela said she made a Word doc with the links to go back and check later. However, guess what? You can always log on to Cox Campus. We can give you a little tip on the resource library. You can actually put in some of the things that we talked around, even around the course. You can find all of the resources for that. And if you want to challenge yourself, even in the video coaching field, using the CPR and the LEAD document and reflecting back with that when you're actually looking back at your own videos, it would be extremely helpful for you also.
Thank you for that, Corinza.
Yeah. Thank you, Al. He just put a link in there too.
All right. And we definitely want to keep the conversation going. So please join us on Facebook. You can just type in Cox Campus and you should see it. We also have a private Facebook group. So please join our Cox Campus community, where we also have great discussions and resources being posted there. And you can also find us on Twitter and LinkedIn. And then lastly, we have another poll to go out because we want to know and we value, like, how did we do? We want to know from you. So did this session deepen your knowledge? Did this session provide you with actionable ways to transform your practice immediately? And as a result of this session, are you planning to make changes to your practice aligned with the science? And will you share this year-long journey opportunity with colleagues in your network? So we just have the question, the poll up there for you to answer. And again, we just want to thank you so much for taking the time out to join us today for our session. And we really enjoyed all the dialogue today.